evening. Today is the 22nd of August and it's time for yet another, not particularly interesting, very vague and probably quite boring vlog. So recently the news came out that Volvo, and I am in a Volvo today, that we have two Volvos at the moment in the fleet. Hopefully one of them will be gone very soon. Yeah, by the time most of you will see this, because these videos go up for channel members on the CIX Toledo and Rover 45 V6 tiers before everyone else sees them by about 3 weeks. So by the time most of you see this video at some point in September, hopefully the gold Volvo 460 will have gone. There was the news that Volvo is stopping production of all its estate and saloon models. Now this is actually quite a big deal, particularly for those of us like me who have Volvos in our blood. Between 1990 and 2001, as I've said many times, my mother owned a 1989 Volvo 240 GL estate. It was a very early catalytic converter equipped car, and that was all the way through most of my teenage years. I think it was 18 when she sold that car and bought one that a friend of hers had, and the car actually remained within, you know, the sort of circle really, because one of her colleagues bought it off her. It was written off in about 2005 because it wasn't worth a lot of money by then. It had done like 150,000 miles or something like that, which is pretty low for a red block engine kind of thing. But they're in my blood, you know. It was a rear-facing seat car. In 2020 I got to drive a 240 GL estate. It was an early 1989. What my mother had was a 1990 model but registered November 89, so there was some very slight differences between them. But you know, having driven it and also driven tons of other Volvos, I mean, I'm on my third Volvo in less than a year myself now. I really appreciate what the saloons and estate models in particular mean to people. We're talking about really with those the kind of traditional Swedish built Volvos on the whole. I mean, Volvos have been built all over the world for a number of years now. It's not just the fact that they sort of come from one place. They don't. We've built in Belgium and you know, down in Malaysia and places like that. This Volvo was built in Belgium, and I think they've all them in China in big numbers because Volvo's Chinese owned these days. But for years there were these big, very angular, safe cars, principally for carrying families around, and it was owned by the kind of people who are just very sort of loyal, dependable, straight people, which is nothing wrong with that. My mother taught geography, and somebody once said, you know, 240 estate was, you know, sort of a car owned by a geography teacher, which was my mother. She taught geography, and that's, yeah, absolutely. My father, in the sort of 11 months or so, he actually got to drive that car because he died about 11 months after we bought it. He was a bit concerned about the image of it because he was a bit of a, you know, a left-wing sort of person. He was from Sheffield, and you know, he came from a family where my grandfather worked in a steelworks. So to have a Volvo estate was this kind of wrong sort of image for somebody like him. Despite the fact he was a very intelligent man, he never forgot the roots of Yorkshire, and you know, that Yorkshire roots are very important. So, but you know, it was the sort of thing that people from the south bought who were upper middle class, and you know, towed horse boxes and things like that. So that's the sort of person who had a Volvo. So he was a bit concerned about this, but the practicality of it, when my grandfather actually saw it, when he used to work in the steelworks, he was pretty happy with it. He thought it was really comfortable and everything like that. And Volvos in this country in particular have had this just very practical, comfortable image. And the red block and white block engine Volvos, this is a white block engine Volvo, it's a 2.45 cylinder, in particular are known for being really dependable. The 340s and 360s and the 440s, 480s and 460s are a different sort of breed of Volvo. They're much more, I suspect, kind of, you know, a bit more of a mass market, conventional car, really. The Volvo was always sort of on its own, particularly the pre-Ford era, which was before 2000. So, you know, Ford were very careful about how they actually managed Volvo, very careful. And, you know, this car is a Mark II Focus underneath, but you wouldn't know, there's no Focus switch gear in here. Volvo got to use, you know, some of their own engines in it and things like that, so it's not really too kind of much interference really to alienate the traditional Volvo customer. The cars often drive very well. 850 is a really good handling car. S60 is, even the V70 P2, P1 is. This handles really well. You know, they're often very good to drive, Volvos. The 960 that I drove in 2019 has been a really successful video. It was owned by Mr. Cold Road Mechanic. Unfortunately, that car got written off just after he sold it, which I think was late 2019, early 2020, and it doesn't exist anymore. But you know, he's just bought another Volvo as well. I think he misses having Volvos. He's had tons of Volvos, and you know, he knows how to work on them. When he says about the 940, he's just bought a 940. That they are quite possibly one of the the least fault-ridden cars you can possibly imagine. The 960s are even better engineered than a 940, but they're so rare now. Funny enough, I saw a 940 today in Southampton, a saloon. It was like a turquoise colour, it was a P-reg. It could have actually been an S90. They changed the badging around that time, but you know, it doesn't matter particularly. But there's this whole group of people to which a Volvo Saloon or Volvo estate is just, it's a cultural phenomenon. And I gather that the police and other government bodies will be able to order Volvo Saloons and estates in the future, but the general public will not be able to. I suppose you've got to remember that although Volvo at the moment have, you know, the V90 and S90, and they've got I think a V60 or 70, I forget which one it is now, and an S60 Saloon. They don't have the sort of massive range of models they used to. In 1991, when my 460 was registered, Volvo had loads and loads of different saloon and estate models on the market. They had the 460, they had the 740, the 760, the 940, the 960, and the 240. They had all of those available as a saloon and estate all at the same time. The models overlapped because the traditional customer base didn't like change particularly. The 240 in particular was a sort of heavy facelift of the 144, 145, and that lasted from 1966 as the 140 series all the way through to 1993. It's the sort of person we're talking about who just likes these values of kind of, you know, space before design, safety before performance. Not that, you know, a lot of Volvos don't handle well, they do. The 960 is an excellent example of an over-engineered Volvo with an amazing rear suspension design, particularly the facelifted models. So Volvo knew how to engineer cars, and they still do. S90, V90, even the XC40 was the most popular model, and they sell tons of those. I'm a Volvo Owners Club member, and loads of people love the P2 V70s and the XC60s and things like that. This S40 was also owned by a club member. He's had it for years. He just looks after it. You know, the sort of people who love Volvos are very happy that they've kept their traditional models going for so long, when a lot of people just haven't offered them. I just don't think maybe there's a market for them anymore. I'm really sad about it. is possibly alienating sort of people, but it's a commercial decision at the end of it. It's a commercial one, it's not a sentimental one particularly, and Geely have obviously decided that over in this market, obviously the production of the saloons in the States might continue for other markets apart from, you know, just the special kind of operations over here, that, you know, they're buying the crossovers more. The XC90's been very popular. There are some new electrified ones coming up, C40, the Polestars, which are also made by Geely and based on Volvo platforms and all this kind of thing. They want to move towards those sort of things, and it's okay, I suppose, but it is a sad day. It's a sad day when you kind of realise that an era has happened and it's been part of your life. You know, there's always been these Volvo estates and saloons around. As long as I've been alive, they've always been there. And, you know, this is my second Volvo Saloon. Will I buy a Volvo estate at some point in life? I don't know. I've come close to it. I've come close to it a couple of times. So, yes, we'll just have to see what happens, won't we? Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more incredibly vague music.